Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for requesting this private session that Julie and I are getting ready to do. And this is going to help you to understand how EFT works, to do a little bit of it with us. So we were just brainstorming before we hit record and talking about what we're going to focus on. I can't remember if we talked about it on the show, but EFT really likes specificity. So the more specific we can get about the issues that we're having and dial in on the negative side of them, even though I can already tell that you're somebody who, looks to the positive and everything else, we all have those things that are deeper rooted that are kind of like boiling underneath the surface. And until we can get rid of those, it's kind of like swimming upstream as we're trying to manifest things. Whereas otherwise we can stay with that downstream, the whole law of attraction. If we're not resisting, we can allow so much more. So you had brought up some fear and anxiety about just kind of like, people pleasing and other things like that. Tell me how that shows up for you, or how you think it might even show up for your audience too.
Yeah. I think that this is something that most people struggle with at some point, especially when you're up leveling or putting yourself out there in a new way, doing something new, starting a business, even taking up a new hobby. It's the first kind of reaction is like, okay, can I do this? And what kind of beliefs do I have to feel about myself? But then there's what are people going to think about me? What is my family going to think about me? What are friends going to think about me and my coworkers? So it's a little bit of what you're saying, the people pleasing, but also just this fear of what is the reception going to be like? And so for me personally, it's, I've been doing my business for about a year. Well, the podcast for almost 2 years, but my coaching business for about 1.5 years. And just putting myself out on social media is very uncomfortable, or was in the beginning, especially when you're very vulnerable with what you're sharing. And then I think for a lot of my clients and for people who are sort of doing something new, it's just that fear of what people may think can really stifle you, hold you back from actually manifesting what you want.
Question for you, because I know that you worked in corporate and, because you were with Google, right?
Yeah. And
Twitter, was that?
And Twitter.
Okay, cool. Yeah. My memory's working.
Yeah, cool. Amazing. Very great memory.
But in transitioning from corporate to doing your own thing, I know sometimes, because I work with a lot of people that make that transition too, and they're still kind of like caught up in like the needing to be more conservative for their job, but it's not the job anymore.
Yeah.
Like, do you carry some of that like past corporate life type of tendencies with you into this new position?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I think of it as also just kind of when you step into something new, when you're owning it, all of a sudden you have to play big and you can't just follow along. And I think especially at Google and Twitter, these were big name companies that even being in sales, like you can kind of hide behind someone else's name or someone else's product. But when you're coming out and really selling yourself, there's no shield. There's no, this is them. Like I'm in the background or I'm part of this. It's like, you are the whole thing. So
if people think that Google stinks, it's not you, it's them.
Exactly.
If people think that your coaching program isn't the best, then you attach that to something personal.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Yeah.
Even though neither one is true.
Right.
So interesting what we do to ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, the corporate stuff kind of comes with a manual, both literally, and there's kind of like a rule book for how to play in corporate. And then you're probably writing your own manual up here for how you need to play with what you're doing.
Yeah. And there's no one to corroborate if you're doing it right. Right. When you're in corporate, you get these reviews and it's like, yes, like for me, and it's all at Google and some of these companies, reviews are kind of a joke. It's like, you're doing a great job and just keep doing it. And, if you're doing well, like, it's just constant validation. And you're like, you don't get that when you are building your own business. Maybe you get it in feedback here and there, but you're not getting that constant validation that you're doing it right, because there is no kind of right. Like you're just always just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks and just going.
Yeah, it's definitely different. That could be, so I was just about to ask you, like, so if you were to think about this handbook or rule book that you've made for yourself, even if unconsciously until this very moment, what are some of the negative things that are in there? Because maybe that's one of them. There's no feedback.
Yeah. I think it's, yeah, no, well, there is feedback. And the thing is, like, we should be looking at all the positive feedback that we get from clients and the transformations that they're making. But I think it's attaching to like the one negative comment on a reel post, a reel you do, or the one, I've been doing some more in-person workshops, and it would be 95% everyone loved it, and one person will say something that was like, well, it didn't work for me, and you're just like, you attach to that. And I don't think that that's not normal. That's sort of like the human nature is, and sometimes we focus on the thing that really gets us, right? And I like physiologically you feel it, like, oh, someone doesn't like me, or I'm not, I'm getting kicked out of the, we can think about it, evolutionary times too. And I just
becomes the next reason why we procrastinate, the next reason why we don't do the next thing, because we've created all these bricks of like, I was disappointed, I failed, they didn't like me, I was rejected, and then like which stretches out before us, and we're like, oh, I can't go around it, can't bust through it, I'm just sitting here. So cool. So that's great information to start with. Do you feel like that's sometimes holding you back, or other people? I mean, this really applies to everybody. So while I want this to be personal for you, I don't want you to feel like I'm like cracking you open to being
totally. No.
Do you feel like it holds you back from that next level of what it is that you're wanting?
Yeah. I mean, I live and breathe this stuff. And what's kind of cool about being a coach and being in this space and being in the world of mindset is it all becomes very meta, because you're sort of dealing with things and using all the tools that you're also teaching. So I guess my answer would be, I know I work through so much on my own, and I am a big proponent of self-development. I just took a whole weekend by myself this past weekend to really reconnect and journal on these things. And I just prioritize that. So yes and no. Yes, I think that
the coaches are the best at helping people with, though, is always the stuff that we struggled with, immensely.
Exactly.
What do they say? That's the way of the coach.
And the wounded heal. There's quotes about the wounded healer. It's to be a healer, you have to have had the experience of going.
I always like the irony of the traumatized therapist.
The traumatized therapist, right? So it does. I would say it probably does. It does create some resistance. Right. I can work through it, but I would say like clearing it would be like just a much faster, more efficient way to get to those next levels.
Cool. So when you think about, what do you want to call that? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it self-doubt? Is it imposterism? Like, what's the...
It's not so much
fear. I know it's all those things, but
it's probably all those things. And I think we can use all of them, because I think for different people, it feels sort of different. Like the emotions are slightly different. So I think it could be fear for someone, anxiety for someone, worry, imposter syndrome.
You think about that combination of things and whatever is most predominant for you, even if it's, all those different things. And then we're going to think about a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is like, they're all totally resolved. There's no resistance. I don't have any of that going on.
Yeah.
10 is like the most of it. Where do you feel like you are on that scale of 0 to 10?
Right in this exact moment?
Sure.
Well, you know what I did, Theresa? On purpose, I posted something on social media, a story right before we jumped on, because I wanted to. Usually, I have a little bit of the
fires you up a little bit.
Yeah, and so I was like, I was actually feeling very calm this morning. I'm like, I don't know what I would want to tap on. So then I'm like, oh, I'm going to post something and try to
irritate myself a little bit.
Exactly. So I'd say right now I'm probably like a 4 or a 5.
Okay, cool. And are you like actively thinking like, I wonder what people are commenting right now, or is anybody seeing this, or oh, what if they're thinking it and they're not posting it, or what if they're posting it and then I have to read it, or is it
Well,
like
now I
that kind
am.
of stuff? Now I am. Is it more like a 6 or a 7 now?
Yeah, you know what it is for me also is this is with personal development, I know that it can trigger people, right? And I know that especially if you're not where you want to be, and you read something and it's like, you know, I wrote the post that I created this morning was about you are the creator of your life, you are the writer, you are the director, but you have to get clear on what you want. And I think for someone who's like so busy and doesn't have time to get clear on what they want, and they don't want to think of themselves as the creator, a post or a video like that might be triggering. So I think for me, as again, kind of the people pleasing stuff, I don't want to trigger anyone, but I want to share these messages because I think it's so important. But I guess so to your question, it's like, that's what it is. It's this, like, is someone seeing this and being like, oh, or like, you know, dismissing me or saying this is kind of phony or BS because they're triggered by it.
Is it almost like an inner good girl that wants to like kind of keep everybody feeling okay about everything?
Yeah, I think that's maybe part of it.
Right.
And yeah.
We'll run with it. Okay, so we're at like a 4 or 5. I've written that down. For those of you who are tapping along with us with this video, assess your own number and write it down, because you will discount how powerful you are if you don't. And you will go, oh, it wasn't that bad, or whatever after you do it. And you will have made a great shift, and you should be able to pat yourself on the back for that and revel in that power that is you. So I want you to just keep in the forefront of your mind the negative feelings and thoughts that you have. And just repeat after me. It's gonna be like follow the leader. So we're gonna start on the karate chop point on the side of the hand. We'll be going through like the points, the top of the head, the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, the collarbone point, which is actually under the collarbone, and under the arm, which is pretty much like where a bra strap would wrap around the body. And we'll go through those a few times, and then we'll reassess and see what's what. So here we go. Even though I have a lot of people-pleasing tendencies inside of me.
Even though I have a lot of people-pleasing tendencies inside of me.
And they don't always serve me.
And they don't always serve me.
They don't even always serve the people that I want to serve.
They don't always even serve the people that I want to serve.
I honor the feeling and accept myself anyway.
I honor the feeling and accept myself anyway.
Even though I have all of these people that I want to help and all of these dreams I want to bring to life.
Even though I have all of these people I want to help and all of these dreams that I want to bring to life.
And sometimes I doubt myself.
Sometimes I doubt myself.
Or I wonder what people are going to think about me.
Or I wonder what people are going to think about me.
I love, accept, and forgive myself.
I love, accept, and forgive myself.
Even though I love the idea of dreaming.
Even though I love the idea of dreaming.
I love the idea of manifesting.
I love the idea of manifesting.
I love all the things I've already attracted into my life.
I love all of the things I've already attracted into my life.
I still wonder what might happen.
I still wonder what might happen.
I still get all up in my head about it. It's okay. My dog's ears are perking up in the background.
Hold on one moment. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
Not a problem. Take a breath.
Okay.
My dog's looking at me like, who was that? Across the room. I love, accept, and forgive myself.
I love, accept, and forgive myself.
It can be hard doing this thing on my own.
It can be hard doing this thing on my own.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like there's enough feedback.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like there's enough feedback.
And sometimes it's the weird negative feedback that gets me.
And sometimes it's the weird negative feedback that gets me.
I get worried about what people are going to comment or how they will review my services.
I get worried about how people are going to comment or how they're going to review what I say.
Yeah. And it can be really uncomfortable to be in this space.
And it can be really uncomfortable to be in this space.
And wonder how people are going to receive me.
I wonder how people are going to receive me.
Posting on social media can be really triggering.
Posting on social media can be really triggering.
Because the good girl inside of me
Because the good girl inside of me
is worried about triggering other people.
is worried about triggering other people.
I'm open to the idea that my social media platform doesn't need to be a safe space.
Doesn't need to be a safe space.
That I can express the things that are near and dear to me.
That I can express the things that are near and dear to me.
And if it triggers someone, that doesn't reflect negatively on me. It's just data. And through being my authentic, genuine self, I'll actually attract exactly the people I want to.
I'll actually attract exactly the people that I want to.
And even as those people who might be triggered,
And even those people that might be triggered,
as they grow and develop,
they
might even get something out of it too.
they'll get something out of it too.
Because we are all of the same source energy.
Because we are all of the same source energy.
We're all interconnected.
We're all interconnected.
And it's safe for me to express myself.
And it's safe for me to express myself.
My social media platform can be a safe space for me.
My social media platform can be a safe space for me.
And if people don't like it, then they're not my people.
And if people don't like it, then they're not my people.
Doesn't mean that I don't send them love and wish them well.
It doesn't mean that I don't send them love and wish them well.
But I can't hold myself back in order to try to please everyone.
But I can't hold myself back in order to try to please everyone.
Because even if I did, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
I am simply not for everybody.
I am simply not for everybody.
But there are countless quantities of the right people out there for me to match energy with.
But there are countless quantities of people out there with the right energy to match with.
Yeah. And if I find myself swimming upstream
And if I find myself swimming upstream
and making things complicated,
and making things complicated,
then I forget that my dreams can be fulfilled with ease.
then I forget that my dreams can be fulfilled with ease.
And I forget how powerful my energy is.
And I forget how powerful my energy is.
How I was engineered to manifest.
How I was engineered to manifest.
And I get blocked and resistant and make things difficult for myself.
And I get blocked and resistant and make things difficult for myself.
I'm open to the idea that the only thing standing between me
I'm open to the idea that the only thing standing between me
and being more comfortable in my space on social media
and being more comfortable on social media
is me.
is me.
And I'm willing to be more conscious of the ways that it's triggering me.
And I'm willing to be more conscious of the ways that it's triggering me.
Because I can find evidence of that.
Because I can find evidence of that.
And I can unblock that.
And I can unblock that.
But there's not a whole lot of evidence.
But there's not a whole lot of evidence,
if any, that it's really bothering anyone else.
That it's bothering anyone else.
It's safe for me to press the post button.
It's safe for me to press the post button
and allow my ideas out into the world.
And allow my ideas out into the world.
I'm going to go to the side of your thumb. With love.
With love.
Acceptance.
Acceptance.
Middle finger. Tolerance.
Tolerance.
Skip to the pinky. And compassion.
And compassion.
Back of the hand. I forgive myself for these rules I've made.
I forgive myself for these rules I've made.
These ideas that aren't even realities.
These ideas that aren't even realities.
These ways that I've restrained myself.
These ways that I've restrained myself.
I am whole, complete, and powerful.
I am whole, complete, and powerful.
All right, take a nice deep inhale through the nose, Julia. Exhale through the mouth. Feel free to yawn or stretch or whatever feels natural to you at the moment. And just kind of come back into your body. Sit and know that you're sitting. And tell me what came up for you while we tapped through that.
Well, I definitely feel calmer. And I had a little bit of like tightness here where I normally hold anxiety if I ever feel anxious. And that feels cleared for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think what came up during that was actually like it's maybe more of it's really I am my worst enemy when it comes to all this stuff. And I think that it's or my worst critic, I should say. And I think that everyone is their worst critic, right? Yeah. And so with the posting, as we were going through, I just started to really realize like it's just me that's holding me back here. Maybe it's not even worrying. I'm just creating these stories, and
it's usually your brain, and your brain's trying really hard to protect you, and it's really trying, but it's keeping you separate from like your highest self, that like greater consciousness that actually is you.
Yeah.
And everything that it's capable of doing.
Yeah.
So hopefully it gives you a little rationality and clarity around it.
Yeah. And one other thing, I realized too that it's sort of like I just like had this realization, like it doesn't matter in the end. social media as a platform and just the likes and who sees it and all that. It's just, it feels like this like game that just with the bigger scheme and purpose of life and love and all these things, it's just like this, like,
yeah, play it like a game. It's the same thing with life. We would all just look at life more like it was like a video game or something fun or whatever. We would just walk through it with so much more ease than taking every little thing seriously, every bill, every weird life change, every unexpected something, every plumbing leak, none of it really matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Where would you say you are on that scale of 1 to 10 now?
Probably like a 1.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for tapping along with us. And my advice to anybody who's doing this is just to dial in on the thoughts of what your particular challenge is. As you do that, feel free to, repeat the round if it resonated with you, or move on to whatever's left. Like for Julia, there's probably not a whole lot left because she's at a 1, but there's just the fact that she probably hasn't tested it again to see if she's actually made the breakthroughs. Or what is that 1 to you? Do you know what the 1 is? Like what's left for you?
I think it's just, I think I just need like some consistency here. It's just like kind of like remnant stuff that just needs to, probably can't be one session that would get it to a 0. Some people start at like a 9 or a 10 and they go down, a couple notches, but not all the way. And for those people, if any of you are out there that just moved a little bit, but not a lot, examine what's left and tap again. Even though I still fill in the blank, I love, accept, and forgive myself, and just, speak to the feelings as you go through and see if you can keep lowering that down. EFT wants you to get to the root cause. Otherwise, you can make great little like temporary advances, but without getting to the root, it's probably going to happen again. So that's okay. We can use this in the moment like a Band-Aid, or we can use it to go the full distance and actually eliminate the problems. Both are wonderful. So there is right or wrong. And I love to hear people's results. So feel free, if you've done the round, to shoot me an email, Theresa@theresalearlevine.com. Let me know what came up for you. And I'll bet, Julia, you probably like to hear from people too, don't you? Definitely. I have one last question for you, Theresa. But if I a lot like channels through me when I write, would you ever recommend writing the script out? And then, because sometimes in the moment, I am not like, I'm too much into the feeling, like I might want to look at something, or do you want to be more in the moment with what you're saying?
Yes, both. Both are good options. But I think if you are in the feeling, it's okay if you don't have the words. And in fact, like from a beginner's perspective, if you're like, gosh, this is the first round of EFT I've ever tapped, I don't know how to keep going with this and to formulate something. If you want to just literally tap your karate chop point for a minute while you think about the weird thing that you're feeling, and then keep tapping through those other points while you're just think about the worst of it. Bring the worst of it front and center and just think about it. Then you don't even have to say the word. But if you get all up in your feelings and you feel like you can't express it, it's okay. If it's just you doing it and you're doing it for you, it doesn't have to be put well. You're not right. Not like you're publishing a book on your EFT session. So you just have it and do the thing and let it serve its purpose. But if you're also like, man, I tend to come up against this thing a lot with, the social media or whatever it is, and you have some exact feelings that repeat over and over for you, then it could be written into a script. And, I send rounds to my clients a lot of times, but also once you've done something, it's usually not incredibly beneficial to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because if you've removed the block, you've removed the block. And if you haven't removed the block, you haven't tapped on the right thing. Yeah. So, great question.
Awesome. Thank you, Theresa. It was great to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much.